Silksong released a while ago and it has received widespread praise amongst the community, and rightfully so. Currently playing it and it is personally the best game I have ever played this year. Honestly, I could make a whole video talking about how much I love this game, but that's not the point of this video. Recently, my YouTube feed was filled with countless praise towards the game, the discourse towards its difficulty, but overall an euphoric moment of receiving a generational video game, which was great to be a part of since I rarely play games at their release here, talking less of a launch week. Until I saw this line, Silksong puts AAA gaming in shame. And I felt this unease, this cynicism, this skeptical pessimism towards this seemingly joyous sentiment. The fact that people view this game as one of many games that once again shows that AAA gaming is nearing its end. The joy of great games coming out in droves, showing those evil couples how this is done, and the jest at AAA games being massive failures. And don't get me wrong, I am not defending AAA publishers or saying you shouldn't celebrate games or you shouldn't consider certain games as a certain standard. But that unease, it's still there. Maybe it's because of my admitted dislike towards internet discourse and the community on the internet, but I feel uneasy about Silksong's celebration, which is weird. I love Hollow Knight. Silksong is an amazing sequel and a masterpiece of a video game. I was there during the anticipation and the release of the game. I played the game at launch week. I am genuinely happy about its success. So why do I feel uneasy when I see the internet celebrating it? The community has a habit of positioning certain games as this kind of messiah, the game that will be the poster boy of the industry and the moral lesson of what AAA developers would emulate, which on the surface is good. But here is a question: what should AAA devs emulate? What should they emulate from Silksong, for example? What is the takeaway from this game? What is the moral lesson in this story? You would hear answers like make a good game, make games affordable and worth the price, or the repeated statements give players what they want. The problem is it's too vague. It sounds like common sense. It is common sense, but like, what can I do with that information? It's like telling a boxer to win more fights. Like, yeah, but are there any actionable suggestions here? The messages are vague statements leaning on common sense with little point of action. The industry is so complicated with so many nuances that even common sense statements aren't enough of an actionable solution. The thing is, they imply that if you simply make good games, it is a guaranteed success, which is so far off reality. There are so many great quality games that didn't get the amount of attention or recognition or even success proportional to their merit. Hell, we have seen that even if a studio makes a critically acclaimed video game that is well received by fans and is financially successful in every single metric, it doesn't even guarantee the studio's survival. It is also ironic that people say this, yet call it in the year's bestsellers, the sports games will make millions off their monopoly, the top live service games will still make buckets of cash, and AAA developers still have the brand and monetary power and control over the industry. Again, I am not saying don't celebrate these games, but bitch, be for real. These successes didn't change the status quo. They didn't form any major threats to the big players. Silksong sold millions of copies, but that's not going to stop further from making billions of dollars this year. That's not going to stop Nintendo from doing their usual shenanigans. That's not going to stop GTA 5 from having its last hurrah of milking before GTA 6 finally drops. The problems are still there, and these breakout successes aren't enough. If the systemic problems enable AAA companies to find more ways to exploit their customers are still intact, the games benefiting from such a system aren't going to do anything because they're from indie devs. And yes, I will argue that Silksong benefited from this system, even though it's not a AAA game. Majority of Silksong's success didn't come from its quality, but from the fact that it's a sequel of the biggest indie game in the industry, had a large, active, and loud fan base that waited earnestly for the game for 7 whole years, making the game gain so much hype that even people who never played Hollow Knight in the first place heard of Silksong. It got so big that its 3-second review at the Nintendo Direct The game was set for success from the very beginning and had every single advantage that a typical AAA game would have. So no wonder indie devs were wondering what Silksong's success mean for the indie game markets. I think the unease I am feeling from Silksong's celebration is due to the fact that the community doesn't view Silksong's success as a win for the industry. They see it as a win over the enemy, in this case being corporations. They are so engaged in the conflict that they see the industry as nothing but conflict. They put companies, groups, and major figures in industry in this goodbye bad guy classification, with indie devs being the default good guys. Unless you're Pirate Software, by the way. This is why shit like 1047 CEO blaming the expensive microtransactions in Splitgate 2 to an employee because he used to work at Activision. The gaming community is the only community on the internet that have this conflicts, war-like relationship with their hobby, at least on the internet. And maybe aside from the movie community or the anime community, maybe anime community, maybe. And that is worrisome. I can think in so many ways why this anger and conflict can be exploited by bad actors like the anti-woke grifts. Gamers believe in this idealized idol so much that any form of even skepticism was shunned and insulted. That is why I felt uneasy. It is because all this doesn't feel like progress. It doesn't feel like this win will do anything. And I love Silksong. I don't know why I have to repeat this, but I love that game to death. I am genuinely happy for its success purely from the fact that I am a Hollow Knight fan. I celebrate and I'm happy for the fact that indie and AA games are bringing so much variety and quality and creativity and polish to an industry that was once dominated by people with deep pockets. Silksong is a big game, a major success, and the Hollow Knight's name is the only indie name that I know that can stand alongside games like Persona and Elden Ring. But it's not a system shocker. It is not a dismantler. It is not a needle mover anyways. It is not going to challenge the status quo. And I feel that this celebration by this community is a waste. Celebrating based on idealism, disconnected by reality that won't bring any major change to the industry. And I'm not saying don't have hope. I am not saying don't advocate for major changes in the industry. I am just saying, be for real, man.